Okay, so yes, as I was saying, Neptune was making a square to Black Moon Lilith and also making a sextile with Venus. And Pluto is right there giving his influence to Venus retrograde. And I already did cover that earlier. So a lot of the times when I do these new and full moon horoscopes, as I start with the inner planets and the major aspects, it already covers the outer planets. So not all the time, but in this case, I already covered that. And also Uranus retrograde, I also already covered. And also Pluto, I already covered. So, however, let me just emphasize Neptune making a sextile with Venus retrograde at 22 degrees Capricorn and Neptune being at 20 degrees Pisces. This is ultimately kind of reevaluating our own sense of intuition and our higher connection with our divine and our own conscience, which allows us to really appreciate the beauty of our own intellect and our own sense of what we find to be spiritually fulfilling. So this has this dire need, this aspect with Neptune and Pisces at 20 degrees sextiling Venus at 22 degrees retro in Capricorn. It's this dire need to really kind of just go back and allow for us to get back to our own intuitive groundedness, to really embrace how we find the connection with the divine and the connection with our higher self in order to create the beauty in this practical world, and how to sustain that, and how to actually draw it into our lives, and how to be able to just create that sensual connection with our own sensations that we find to be pleasurable and that feel good with our own human experience. Because, you know, this is like having that mind, body, soul connection that allows us to really appreciate our own intuitive essence that give us more meaning in life, and that allow for also the simplistic nature of life to also be embraced. So it's almost, you know, it's just that mind, body, soul connection here that is going through more realization, through more of an editing process of really understanding and having that focal point where we can better connect with the whole mind, body, soul integration within the practical. So that's what I see in this aspect. And I hope that's, you know, you can understand that. So also there is also, before I close the astrology and go into the tarot, because I'm going to pull 3 cards on the chart, the planets that I did mention, or the aspects that I did mention from each planets, let me just explain that the moon is in detriment in Capricorn. So detriment, that's just kind of where the moon is needing to really pull energy from its oppositional lessons that is basically on a different spectrum of what the essence of the moon personifies in the mundane, okay? And then we have Jupiter and Saturn. They're actually both, let me see. So of course Uranus is in its fall position in Taurus. So that's just giving the energy surrounding that planet, that position on the astrology and the aspects regarding everything that's connected with Uranus in retrograde. It being in fall position, that is just making the tendency to want to further understand and further almost go outside of our own comfort zone to bring into light what we need to learn in order to almost get past this whole Uranian vibe with it being in Taurus, which is, you know, it's very, Taurus is very fixed. So there's like a stubborn quality to this sign, which isn't a bad thing. It's just Uranus wants to kind of like break that up a little bit and give us more flexibility to innovate and kind of bring in a new vibe, okay? And Taurus is kind of like holding on to the old, so to say. So it's just this dynamic of where it's gonna, in fall position, it's a little harder to break past that barrier, but it'll make us more, it'll invoke us more to do so, okay? And then with that being said, I also want to add that all of this planetary influence and energetic influence is from Sagittarius to Gemini. So it's taking up that whole side, those signs that go from Sag to Gem. So this is allowing us to really put our attention on the values of this part or these parts of the chart and really understand the houses, the elements, and the signs, and how the planets are aspecting each other, and where the conversation is going, and what's trying to be pointed out, and what is trying to be proved here, and what is trying to be learned here, in order for us to move on and get to that other phase, which is the other side of the chart. So for instance, you know, I feel like Pisces is like the focal point of all of this interaction going on. So, you know, Virgo being opposite from Pisces, this is needing to happen. We have to sort these things out so we can get to that oppositional side in order to kind of further along the enlightenment and further along the transformation of what is being presented here, as far as lessons and as far as what needs to be understood and experienced, so we can get to that other side. We can get to that other side of Leo, you know, finding our happiness, finding our fun factor, and really having a playful energy. And then Virgo, just making it a actual reality and doing the things that are productive but also bring us joy. And then with Libra, ultimately having that balance. And then of Scorpio, what is really needing to happen in order for our desires to be brought out into the open and for us to really have those intimate connections, not just with people, but have an intimate connection with ourselves and with life in general. And why it is that we're here, you know, having that real strong attraction to just our esoteric nature of wanting to feel as if this is meaningful of why we're here. Okay. And then, you know, Cancer, just feeling at home here within our life path, where we exist, feeling at home, feeling nurtured, feeling connected in a way where we ultimately have this comfortability of having a sense of camaraderie within our community, within our connection with others, and having just like a home vibe here on planet Earth. So let me pull 3 cards from the tarot so I can get a further message regarding the new moon in Capricorn. So let's see what the tarot has to say. Universe, Creator, Divine, my guides and spirits, please come into my sacred space and help me channel a message for this new moon in Capricorn. And my spirits and guides of all kinds with the utmost integrity, honesty, sincerity are the ones that are allowed in my sacred space. No offense. So, yeah, the first card up is the Knight of Pentacles in the reverse. Let me get the other 2 cards. And then we have the Tower upright. Okay. And then we have Judgment in reverse. So, what I want to say about the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, the Tower upright, and the Judgment in reverse. This is a sense of really embracing not only the retrograde quality of this new moon in Capricorn, but it's also allowing, with Capricorn, the Tower, it's allowing us to really kind of clear out the debris and the almost the stagnation in our life in order to see the clear value in what we have to work with moving forward. And this is going to be a process where it's needed in order for us to pick up the pace and really go after what it is that we do want in the mundane. So this is almost this it's the divine is allowing for us to learn. It's not, the divine in the universe is there to guide us and ultimately has its law. So it's like we don't have to take the law into our own hands because we have that universal law and the divine looking over us in the universe in order to keep us on our life path, in order to make our wrongs right, and vice versa. However, the divine is almost stepping back and allowing us to have our experiences without too much interference, because the divine knows by doing so, the lessons that we do learn through our experience is going to be so much more valuable because of its untainted quality for us to really be ingrained with some of these lessons that we're learning right now, and how we can honestly get in tuned with our own life path in order to build upon and create with a steadfast quality, a methodical quality to bring into fruition what it is that we want to ultimately remove from our lives and what we want to create. It's almost a sense of a clearing out, and it's almost like a new slate is being presented, and the divine is allowing us to build on that. And the divine is there guiding, but not necessarily doing too much interfering. It's just overlooking is what I'm feeling and what I'm sensing from this vibe. And this is in order for the divine to almost check in to see where our mindset is with the judgment in reverse, and allowing for us to almost integrate what we've already learned and move forward in a more pristine and organic, natural nature that is true to ourselves. So I feel like, the message here with this new moon in Capricorn is allowing for the divine to overlook and see where we're going in our lives, and to guide us by just being there to be an overlooker within our lives, and just basically assessing how we move forward and our intention and what we do to see the growth. I feel like this is like almost the divine kind of assessing our growth. So I feel like, basically, to sum all this up and put it simply, this is a universal assessment that the divine doesn't want to come in and create too much interference. It just wants to guide in a way where it's just basically checking how far we've come, how we're going to move forward, how we're going to deal with the retrograde, and it's making an assessment. So it can really put to value and see our growth, and see how patient we can be with the process instead of rushing and making mistakes that could just prolong a lesson or hold us back in some way with the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. So, the Tower upright is a beautiful thing. It's all about seeing the real value and clearing out any of the distortion, the distractions, the riffraff in our lives, and getting down to the true essence and seeing who is really there for us and what support we really do have regardless, and really seeing the true value and seeing who our real friends are with the Tower upright, and seeing who really has stood the test of time. Okay,